Once upon a time, there was a very unhappy man. He went to a wise man and said, "I am very unhappy with my life. I cannot make my wife, children, or family happy. I cannot even do anything for myself. Sometimes I even think about ending my life. You practice so many austerities and penances. Can you show me a way out of my bad times? I am going through a very bad time. It has become very difficult for me to even arrange 2 meals a day. Now you tell me how I can live in such a time? How can I keep my family happy? Please tell me a simple way so that I can understand it easily, because I am not very educated. If you talk about big and great knowledge, I will probably never understand." Hearing this, the wise man smiled and said, "You can do one thing." Then the wise man pointed ahead and said, "On that high hill there is a temple, and near that temple there is an ant hill where thousands of ants live. It may sound strange to you, but those ants are destroying the temple land. They are destroying the fertility of the soil, due to which no tree or grass can grow there. You do one thing for me. After that I will answer your questions. Go to that hill for 7 days and destroy that ant hill. Whenever you see an ant hill near the temple, destroy it there. But remember, no ant should die while destroying the ant hill." Trying to understand this, the young man left. Perhaps he did not understand why the wise man was asking him to do this. He was being unfair to the ants, destroying their home and harming them. After all, who would do such a thing? But still, obeying the wise man's words, he started going to the hill the next day. When he reaches the hill on the first day, he sees that many ants are busy gathering their food. All the ants are walking in a line, picking up small grains of food and storing them in their home. Seeing this, the young man's heart first weakened. He thought that these ants are working so hard to fill their home, and I will destroy their home. How bad they will feel. But then he remembered the wise man's words and started destroying the house. Soon there was chaos among the ants. They started running here and there. The ants that were walking in a line were now scattered and running here and there to save their lives. In a short while, the house was destroyed and all the ants had run away to hide. After doing this, the young man returned home with a sad heart. His mind was upset, sad, full of remorse. Then, lying in bed at night, he thought that now the ant's house is destroyed. What is the use of going back there now? Because the wise man had told me to destroy the ant hill for 7 days, which I have done. But then, after some thought, he decided to go again the next day. The next morning he woke up. Reaching the hill, he reaches the same spot where he had destroyed the house the previous morning. But he is surprised to see that those ants have again built their house at the same place, and now they were again busy collecting supplies for their home. Seeing this, the man felt that these ants are very stupid. They know that their house was destroyed here yesterday, and they have built their new house at the same place. And thinking this, the man started laughing. But then again, remembering the wise man's words, he started destroying the ants' house again. Again there was commotion among the ants, and in a short while those ants started running here and there to save their lives. In a short while their house was destroyed again, and the young man felt a little satisfied that this time I have destroyed the house well. Now those ants will not be able to build their house here. So before leaving, he also poured cold water on the house so that the ants could not build their house there. And thus, having completed his task, the young man returned home again. Tonight while sleeping, the young man was again thinking whether the wise man was doing the right thing. Is it befitting a wise man to destroy someone's home? What if that wise man is not a wise man at all? What if he is making a fool of me? But then he decided that I would first complete my work, and then only it will be known why the wise man was asking me to do this. And thinking this, he falls asleep at night, and again headed towards the same hill. Reaching the hill, he reaches the same place where he had destroyed their house, and he is happy to see that there is no house there. All the ants had run away from there. Now he thought that what is the use of coming here every day because the ants have changed their house, and the wise man had told me to come after 7 days, but today it is only the 3rd day. Now what is the use of coming back for the remaining 4 days? And thinking this, he decided that from here he would go straight to the same wise man and tell him all this news. Just then, as he turned back from that hill towards the wise man's hut, his eyes suddenly fell on another house, which was also built by the ants. It means that the ants themselves had built that house, and now those ants were living in the new house. This new house was a short distance from their old house. And when the same young man saw that house, he thought that perhaps the wise man knew that these ants would change their house from here and build it somewhere else. That's why he had told me to come after 7 days. And considering this, he reaches their new house to destroy it too. When he reached there, the ants were busy in their work in the same way. They were collecting food for themselves and storing it in their house. When the old house was broken, there were still grains left there, and the ants were collecting food from there and bringing it back to their new house. Here again the young man's heart softened a little because he himself was also weak. He himself was a victim of time. That's why a feeling of compassion arose in his mind for those ants. He felt pity for them. He wanted to help them, but on the contrary, he was harming them. But remembering the wise man's words, he again decided to destroy that house. This time, he started destroying the house very carefully without harming any ant. It took a little longer because the wise man had already laid the condition of not harming any ant, so he was destroying those houses very carefully. But in the end, he destroyed that house too. And after destroying that house, this time he returned home with a very sad heart. This time even more sad because he had destroyed their new house as well. He was not letting those ants settle anywhere. And now he started considering himself a devil or a demon. But still, obeying the wise man's words, he returned home with a sad heart. Before sleeping at night, he once again thought how big a devil I am, how big a demon I am. Leave alone the old house. I am not giving those ants any place to settle anywhere. What must those ants be thinking about me? How big a demon he must be on that God who is getting this work done through me. But still, he decided to go the next day. And the next day, early morning, he reached there again. This time he was again surprised to see that this time the ants had built their house in another new place. They were working with even more energy than before, and they had built a bigger house than before in one night. And now they were again busy collecting their food and grains. Seeing this, the man felt that what are these ants made of? I am trying to drive them away from here again and again, and they build their house right here. Don't they know that I will never let them settle here? This ant is so small to look at, but still it is not giving up on me. It's a big surprise. And this time he angrily started destroying the house. But this time while destroying it, some ants died there. They were crushed under his feet. After crushing them, when he came out of his ego, he saw how much trouble he had caused those ants in anger. His heart filled with remorse, and he cried and went towards his house. While sleeping at night, he thought that I am doing too much cruelty on those ants. Now I won't be able to do any more cruelty than this. And thinking this, the next day he reached the same hill with some flour from his house for those ants. Today there was a feeling of reverence and compassion for those ants in his mind. Today he wanted to help them, and when he reached there, the ants were again busy building their new house. With great compassion, he fed the flour he had brought to the ants. He did the same for the next 7 days. Every morning he would go and feed the ants flour with his own hands. After 7 days, the young man went to the wise man and folded his hands and said, "Oh, wise man, forgive me. I tried very hard to destroy the ants' house. I destroyed their house not once, but 4 times. After that, I couldn't muster the courage. I couldn't destroy their house. Kate won't even tell me the method that can get me out of my bad times. But I don't care about that. I think what I did was right. Therefore, I am taking your permission and going back. Please grant me permission to go back to before sleeping at night." He once again thought how big a devil I am, how big a demon I am. Leave alone the old house. I am not giving those ants any place to settle anywhere. What must those ants be thinking about me? How big a demon he must be on that God who is getting this work done through me. But still, he decided to go the next day. And the next day, early morning, he reached there again. This time he was again surprised to see that this time and understand that I have not completed your work, and instead you the ants had built their house in another new place. They were working with even more energy than before, and they had built a bigger house than before in one night. And now they were again busy collecting their food and grains. Seeing this, the man felt that what are these ants made of? I am trying to drive them away from here again and again, and they build their house right here. Don't they know that I will never let them settle here? This ant is so small to look at, but still it is not giving up on me. It's a big surprise. And this time he angrily started destroying the house. But this time while destroying it, some ants died there. They were crushed under his feet. After crushing them, when he came out of his ego, he saw how much trouble he had caused those ants in anger. His heart filled with remorse, and he cried and went towards his house. Hearing this, the wise man smiled and said, "Oh son, where are you going? Stay still, have some refreshments, stay for a while, and then leave." Saying this, the wise man brings water for the young man. After giving him water, the wise man asks the young man, "Tell me, why couldn't you destroy the ants' house after all? Those ants are small, and you are so huge. Yet, you could not destroy the house of those little ants. Where is your strength, your power?" Responding to this, the young man said, "Oh wise man, I had destroyed the ants' house many times. Once in my anger, I even harmed the ants. But the day I harmed them, the same day I realized why I was harming them, why I was giving them so much trouble. And from that day on, instead of harming them, I started helping them." Hearing this, the wise man said, "That's the point of learning. A small ant teaches us the message of life. I didn't send you to destroy the ants' house. I sent you there so that you could learn something from those ants. What lesson did you learn from those ants? Can you tell me?" Hearing this, the young man narrated the whole story. After listening to the whole story, the wise man smiled and said, "Son, the first lesson you can learn from these ants is that no matter how many times you tried to destroy their house, no matter how many times you tried to destroy their house, they built their new house every time. They never gave up. If they had given up, you wouldn't have found them there. Life is the name of being active, but we humans give up after 1 or 2 failures and get frustrated, and then we don't even try in life. And some people even become bent on ending their lives. But you must have seen one thing in animals: they can never end their own lives. You have never heard of an animal committing suicide, no matter how hungry or unhappy the animal may be. But still, it keeps fighting for its life. But on the other hand, we humans tend to give up after getting frustrated once or twice. Life is action. Working is life, and death is the last rest, the eternal rest. Therefore, never stop working before death, because after death, you will go to eternal rest. So why are you giving up working before that? Why are you getting frustrated? If one house of yours has collapsed, then try to build another house. Try and keep trying. And those who try never lose. You have seen this from those ants, how small that ant is in comparison to you, and you are so big, but their mind is so much bigger than yours, so vast, so determined that even after their house collapsed so many times, those ants never gave up. The second lesson is that whenever a bad time comes upon us, we feel that this time will never go away. This time will destroy my life. It will never let me live. And with these very thoughts, with these very ideas, which in reality have no existence, they are just thoughts. And those very thoughts make our mind sad. And that's why we stop trying. But just think yourself. Nature will harm us, damage us again and again. But for how long will it damage us? If we keep getting up again and again, if we keep trying again, then even nature will kneel before us, and it will also become compassionate towards us one day, and it will start giving us everything we ever desired. You yourself saw that you went to destroy those ants, but later you yourself started giving food and flour to those ants. You yourself became compassionate towards them. Why did it happen? Because you saw that those ants were never giving up. In the same way, if you too never give up in your life, then one day nature will surely give you everything you wanted in your life. Therefore, remember 2 lessons. Keep working and doing your duty. And secondly, that one day nature will surely give you the result of that work. So friends, I hope you learned a lot from this video. Then see you again in the next video.